Hello and welcome back to my channel. It's been a minute or two since my last video. Just about immediately after I put up my last video, my CAD computer decided to dump a motherboard and a hard drive. Thankfully, I was able to retrieve my drawing files, but that left me without a computer to put together YouTube videos on. Luckily, I was able to find another Lenovo W540 on eBay and rebuild the system I had for CAD. I also took that opportunity to build a computer dedicated to video editing and YouTube. And it is so much faster than doing it on my CAD laptop. Over the past month or so, I've been working on quite a few different designs for the new fingers. For a little bit, I was working on a design that's similar to Festo's Finray pick-and-place manipulator, but I found it difficult to get the 270 degrees of motion out of that concept. From there, I went back to working on a design that I was working on a while back that utilizes parallel compound links. After running into a bit of a wall with the design, I decided to take a break from working on fingers and start working on something that's been an ongoing mention or a request ever since the beginning of my channel. I started working on my version of the chainsaw prosthetic from the Evil Dead movies. During the time my channel's been up, I must have read in the neighborhood of 10,000 comments that were related to Ash vs. Evil Dead, or Now Build a Chainsaw, or a simple groovy. I wanted to go a little different direction with the build than just slapping a socket on a chainsaw and calling it done. What I came up with is a retractable blade, battery-powered, chainsaw. It's incredibly stupid and dangerous and should not be attempted at home. But I figured with as many times as it's been requested, it should be a pretty well-received video. So, let's get started. I started out by picking up a 12-inch chainsaw bar and drive sprocket from Ace Hardware, and a cheap battery-powered grinder from Walmart. Early on, I did approach one of the big tool companies about possibly sponsoring a portion of this build, but they politely declined. Maybe on a different project, at a different time. Anyways, back to the build. I figured that it should be a bolt-on upgrade, rather than a replacement prosthetic hand. Walking around with an ordinary chainsaw strapped to my arm seemed a bit bulky, and a little over the top. That's when I came up with the idea of a retractable bar. So let's take a look at the drawings. For this build, I'll be using number 25 chain rather than the number 15 that I use on my prosthetic hands. The drive is a total of 8 chain idlers that allow me to lace the chain around the perimeter of the frame and have the drive input be in a fixed position and the output be able to move from the open position and the closed without any change to the drive system. To adjust the tension of the chain loop, I have a pair of slots in the motor mount. This allows for about 3 links worth of take-up by sliding the grinder motor up and down the frame. So now that the design is roughed out, let's start cutting the parts out. I'm going to begin with making the drive sprocket that attaches to the grinder. I started out with a piece of 1.5-inch diameter aluminum on the conventional lathe, and then moved to the CNC milling machine to cut out the teeth. So while the teeth are cutting out, let's go through the comment section. I read just about all the comments to my videos, and I really appreciate all the positivity and support that I get from all of my subscribers. I really do have the best subscribers in the whole of YouTube. Although according to YouTube analytics, only 2% of my viewers are subscribed. It would be really cool, and I would greatly appreciate it if everyone that is watching my videos would take a moment and subscribe to my channel, so that I get a little closer to earning a gold play button award. It's stupid, but I'd really like to have a gold play button hang on the wall next to all my retired hand designs. So I get a lot of comments about 3D printing the fingers instead of machining them out of metal. Well, that's nice and easy. What I've found is that 3D printing just isn't durable enough for daily real-world use. Before I got into machining the parts for my hand out of aluminum, I would often print the components with one of my FFF printers. I was an early adopter of 3D printing and have an old-school MakerBot Replicator 1. I also have a Semi CNC Rowstock Max 2. I've tried all kinds of filament, all with varying levels of success and part longevity. I would primarily print the parts in ABS. Because of the combination of real-world strength, ease of gluing, and simplicity of finishing, I could get an incredible finish on the parts with just a little bit of sanding and then a quick wipe with an acetone rag. For parts that needed a little bit more durability, I would use PETG. The filament is quite a bit more expensive when compared to ABS, and the parts come out really well. But in the end, during daily real-world use, they would all meet with the same results and fail, usually in the most inopportune time. 3D printing is nice because it requires relatively little investment and specialized skill compared to what's required to machine these parts out of metal. But the parts just aren't real-world strong. I also had a stint in printing in resin. For that, I used my Peopoly Moai SLA printer. And for resin, I had really good results from using the tough formulation of resin. SLA printing yielded me slightly better results, but I still had what I would consider early failure of the parts, usually at the pin bosses where the pins would go through the part and make up the hinge. The failure would generally occur due to lateral impact, where the shock would cause the part to fracture, and cause the part to break at the hinge. Another point of failure that I experienced with resin was cracking due to UV exposure, either from using my hand while welding, or from just being out in the world and being exposed to sunlight. I didn't really notice any real difference whether I cured the part in a UV cabinet, or if I just ran with it straight out of the alcohol wash. The fingers would usually last a couple of weeks, and then they'd start to develop hairline cracks, and I would need to reprint them, or I'd accidentally hit the finger sideways, and the MIP joint of either the index or the pinky would come apart. Of course, the parts that made up the lever and clevis assemblies had to be made of aluminum right from the beginning. I had absolutely zero luck fabricating those parts out of plastic. It was fine to mock them up, but as soon as I would put any load on them, they would just snap. That's why I have the opinion I do concerning printed fingers. Another comment I get: you should start a business. Actually, I do have a business. I've been self-employed full-time since December of 1999. I started my business in 1995 collecting machinery and taking on work. During the time I was getting my shop put together, I was working at a precision sheet metal shop during the day, and at my shop on evenings and weekends. Then in '99, my employer was exercising his exit strategy and laying me off more and more due to lack of work. I took that as an opportunity to go out and get more and more work. In December of that year, I quit that shop and never looked back. Until I got sick, I had a real going concern. Originally, I specialized in ornamental iron and structural steel. Then, 2008 happened, and I switched to being a plasma form bracket shop. I also started building specialty CNC machinery. Then in 2017, I broke my back, and I was diagnosed with multiple myeloma, a terminal form of blood cancer that affects your immune system and skeleton. It can cause your bone density to decrease significantly and cause lytic lesions. My bone density, when I was checked back in July, was negative 2.95. Basically, if I were to make it to the density level considered to be osteoporosis, it would be a massive improvement. How'd you lose your fingers? Did I mention I have super low bone density? Like last week, I was walking around my house without shoes on, and I broke 2 toes low bone density. No, I didn't kick anything. I was just walking through the kitchen and snap. Well, in November of 2018, about 5 months after my stem cell transplant and 4 rounds of heavy chemo, I was bending a hat channel in the press brake. The material on the operator side of the machine came up really fast and smacked my fingers, shattering the proximal bones in my left hand, my dominant hand. Off to the hospital I went to get my hand fixed. The issue was, at the time, I was still on active chemo and had a very compromised immune system. The other issue was, I was still recovering from heavy chemo and a stem cell transplant. And finally, and probably the most importantly, I still had terminal blood cancer. So, I was at risk of infection, blood clots, and of course there was no guarantee that the broken bones would even mend. The ER doctors on call were able to find a hand doctor half a state away from where I live that was willing to take on the case. After the first surgery, everything looked pretty okay. Then next week I came up for a checkup, where the doctor was like, "Don't plan on driving back today. You're being scheduled for emergency surgery. You've got an infection going on." And things went downhill from there. They'd take a finger to try to get ahead of the infection, put me on more antibiotics, and send me home. I'd drive back up in a couple weeks or so for a checkup, be admitted to the hospital, take another finger, more antibiotics, go home, come back, another finger. At the end, I was on a 24-hour rotating infusion of silver bullet antibiotics and antivirals. Finally, I was turning the corner, but unfortunately, I was down 4 fingers. Thankfully, I was able to keep my thumb and palm, which is awesome, and in a morbid way, I am thankful for the experience, because it's what set me on my current path of designing and fabricating partial hand prosthetics. This is actually my second go at this project. When I was 17, for my high school senior project, I designed and developed a fully ambulatory robotic arm using myoelectronics. But after I graduated high school, I shelved the project and started down the career path of becoming a sheet metal worker and machinist, all the time increasing my skills and learning new techniques. So when I lost my hand, it gave me a chance to revisit this project, this time with an increased skill set and a much larger variety of tools at my disposal. Hopefully, eventually my project will get in front of the right set of eyes, and I'll get picked up by one of the prosthetic manufacturers where my work can be available to those in need of the hand that I've come up with. That leads into the next comment I see a lot. You should patent all of your ideas. To which I reply, a patent is only as good as the dollars you have to protect it. There's no such thing as the patent police to stop someone from copying what you've come up with. It only gives you the right to go after someone that copies your product. Depending upon the complexity of the device, you can spend anywhere from $5,000 to $20,000 or more on a set of patents. If someone copies the patented work, and the patent holder finds out about it, then, at their own expense, they would have to prove that their patent is valid, and that they have been damaged by copying and selling of the work. You can end up blowing a lot of money protecting your patent rights and never see a dollar back from it. Now, in order to patent something, you have to, in great detail, tell everyone everything about the item you're claiming. And all anyone has to do is change the hardware, the scale, the color, material, really anything totaling about 10% change to invalidate your patent. Now, I have lots of ideas, none of which so far am I so in love with and vested in that I'm willing to put that much money into so I can spend more money to sue somebody that decides to copy it. The problem with patenting something like the fingers or tool lock system is there really isn't a very big barrier to entry into the market. And if it's something that's 3D printed, it's an even lower barrier. So really what I've seen as the most cost-efficient practice is to be first to market and get your foothold in brand association there. Then, once you get that product up and selling, get started on your next great idea. Well, that's what I have for you today. The next video will probably be a continuation of the fabrication and assembly of the Evil Dead Chainsaw. Let me know what you think of the retractable chainsaw project, and if you like this video format better than the way that I've done my other videos. Please like and subscribe so I can get a little bit closer to a gold play button. If you have the time, please leave a comment in the comment section. I really enjoy reading them. Hope you're doing well in the crazy times we're currently experiencing. Thanks for watching.